for Hollywood. Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore. Oh, hello there. I am Stan the Movie Man, and this is my review of Hunter Killer. It stars Gerard Butler, Gary Oldman, Common, Zane Holtz, and a whole bunch of other people. It is a story involving a coup attempt in Russia by the defense minister. And he has kidnapped essentially the Russian president at a naval base, and he is holding him and claiming he is operating with the full authority of the president, even though the things he's doing will probably lead to the Third World War. Now, one Russian and one American sub have already been sunk 40 or so miles off the coast of, or outside of Russian waters in an area that has icebergs, so somewhere near the Arctic. And there's a game of cat and mouse going on. Now, Gerard Butler plays Joe Glass, the commander, the newly appointed commander of the USS Arkansas, who has been sent to this part of the world in order to investigate and see what's going on. A four-man SEAL team is sent in by Rear Admiral John Fisk, who's played by Common. And he, Admiral Fisk, is working with a National Security Agency analyst named Jane Norquist, who is played by Linda Cardellini. They are kind of working together a little bit behind the back of Admiral Charles Donegan, played by Gary Oldman. He is in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And they've kind of come up with this plan behind his back to send in a four-man team to put eyes on the situation to see if they can figure out what's going on. They see the coup as it happens, and they decide to go on this mission to try to rescue the Russian president and avert a Third World War. Everything that occurs after the coup, well, that's not exactly true. It is believable that a Russian president could be overthrown by his military leaders. That, to me, strikes me as plausible. What isn't plausible is pretty much everything else in the movie. There are some incredibly poorly thought out moments in this film. For instance, the sub is trying to get close to this naval base. The American sub's trying to get close to the Soviet or Russian naval base, and the fjord that they have to travel up is mined and has acoustic sensors and acoustically activated mines and all kinds of other things. They managed to work their way through that. However, the water right there in front of the Russian base. I'm sorry, I keep saying Soviet. I'm old. Right there in front of the Russian base is apparently completely unguarded, as you see as the film goes on. There are other sort of ridiculous things that occur that I'll let you see for yourself. Despite the ridiculousness of the film, the characters are interesting, and I was wondering how they were going to pull this off, even though a lot of what occurs is completely ridiculous and thoroughly unlikely. It's still interesting to see what happens. The underwater scenes with the submarines look really good. Granted, they're dark, but they still look good. And while there's a lot of CG as far as the various weapons that are used by both militaries, they seem far more plausible than a lot of what goes on story-wise in this movie. And there's a lot of scene chewing going on, especially by Gary Oldman, who has this extraordinary explosion of anger at one point, and I had to stifle a smile a little bit because it was just so over the top. It seemed extraordinarily unlikely, especially given the situation where they were. Everything that's wrong with this movie, it is still a fun film. It's because it is so ridiculous, and the fact that the characters are all really entertaining characters. I for one couldn't help but sort of root for them as they were going through the motions of this particular story. And despite the fact that it seems very unlikely, well, pretty much everything that happens in the movie seems very unlikely. It's still a great deal of fun to watch it as it unfolds. Despite myself, I liked Hunter Killer. I'm giving it 4 stars. Go to StanTheMovieMan.com to see my complete review. Listen to The Fractured Frame podcast, where some friends of mine and I get together and discuss the latest in movie, TV, and streaming news. You can find that wherever you get podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at MovieManStan. And you can send me emails, StanTheMovieMan123 at gmail.com. Till next time, later.